gentlemen, and welcome here to round 3 for the Hattori Racing Enterprises special events. Back in March, it was Texas Motor Speedway. April, it was the Lady in Black at Darlington. And here for May, it is Kentucky Speedway. Seth Cole alongside of Tyler Riggs to bring you the FeedNC 150 at the Kentucky Speedway. And Tyler, this is going to be an interesting mile and a half for these drivers to have to tackle.
Yeah, we were talking about kind of in the off-air build-up to this hot track, slick track, the sit-up snappy in the early going. So, Seth, these guys are going to have to really be careful the first few laps. It ought to be a real challenging set, but it really should make for some great racing throughout this one.
Definitely. We're going to be, I think, based off what we saw in practice, seeing these drivers, if they can get through those first couple of laps on the slick tires, we're going to see some long green flag runs. It's really going to come down to who's able to conserve the tires, but who took a checkered flag back in the Darlington race starts on the pole for this one. Everyone's going to be chasing that 38 of Shane Tyrion.
Yeah, and he is a very talented driver on the iRacing side. Guy I've actually raced with against a few times, and just knows what he's doing out there. Calm, cool, collected, and with all these big names in the field. I mean, he's gonna have Landon Castle starting outside him. There's Moffitt, Kraus, some of those guys. He's not gonna be faced. You know, he can handle it. He's ready for the challenge.
Absolutely. We've got some other big names you can see a little bit further in the mid-pack. Ryan Truex, who we saw in the Darlington race. Stuart Friesen, the number 52 in today's field. Look through the rest of the finishing results from qualifying. It was group qualifying, too, which was a lot of fun to watch. We have 31 drivers that are taking the green flag. Max McLaughlin, who had a great run back at Darlington, going to be starting rear of the field, so it'll be fun to watch driver work his way up from the rear to the front. 100 laps of racing here this evening, and definitely I think that one thing we're going to have to keep an eye on for these guys, if we do end up going into a long green flag run, is do they want to maybe split 100 laps in half and go 50-50, or will we see drivers short pit, or will we see drivers stretch it further than the 50 laps?
That's a tough call, Seth. I mean, we talked about the fuel run, figured that out. It's about 60 laps on a full tank of fuel for these guys, but we believe with where, the tire wear is, that's going to be really tough to stretch it out to a full 60. So I think really the pit window is probably somewhere in between, a 45, 50 lap run for these guys. You might see some guys in the back elect to pit a little sooner in that 45 lap range, trying to get ahead of the curve in case there's a caution or something of that nature. But if you're one of the leaders, really, I think the 50-50 run is probably the best way to go about it.
And the interesting thing, too, is mentioned that the other two tracks that we've been at in the last 2 months were Texas and Darlington. There's not really a whole lot that you can fall back on those two racetracks because even though they're a mile and a half in length, it's an entirely different configuration.
Yeah, that's been the fun part about this series of events right here is that's been really unique tracks, track to track. So nobody could get comfortable. You really have to kind of adapt each race and, figure out, okay, here's my spots I really got to improve on or I'm good at and go from there in the race and kind of figure things out.
Drivers that really were the two that battled it out for the win last time out at Darlington going to be starting on the inside of the first two rows. Shane Tyrion in the 38 and Josh Weinrich in the 61 machine. However, Landon Castle's been racing with the guns there in the Sunday NASCAR Pro Invitational races. Brett Moffitt, we've seen him be really fast in a lot of truck special events, so we could have a couple more players here battling for this win than just the two we had back at Darlington. But coming out of turn 4 as the pace car hits pit road, and the FeedNC 150 at Kentucky Speedway is green.
And what a jump right there by that 38 car set to lead this one off. And we said loose setup, snapping the first couple laps. We're going to have to see who's able to handle that on the start here.
For drivers here, they kind of have to weigh the pros and cons of do they want to push it hard here while everybody's bunched up, or do they want to maybe try and find a place in line, wait for those tires to heat up, to settle into a long green flag run? And there's your answer. Caution out already on the first lap.
Yeah, and I can imagine this is probably be the case of exactly what we talk about, where somebody just slipped off into the corner. We'll have to figure out where that one's at.
It's the 32 of Brad McDaniel. He was down against the inside wall, and I believe the 88, Bridget Burgess, also may have been collected as well. She was rather slow coming out of turn 2.
They collected
Okay.
it up here.
Back and see what happened out of the second corner, and it looks like it may have started with the 32 car of McDaniel. Oh, nope, it actually was the 88. Spun first. Daniel almost was able to clear Burgess, but just barely caught the rear of her car with his front. Now we'll go back and see what caused the 8 car to go around.
Well, and you can see Bridget, like, she was just taking it slow right there, trying to do the smart thing, maybe drop back a little bit so you get used to the track. And it just speaks to the tough conditions that we talked about here right before the race went green. I mean, it is not going to be easy, on restarts or on fresh tires trying to kind of ease into a run.
That was a pretty hard hit into that inside wall, especially with the left front for Bridget Burgess. Taking on board here, we should bring up the point that these drivers do have one fast repair at their disposal, but obviously I don't think anybody in this field wants to have to use it after lap 1.
No, and a fast repair is always one of those things that you want to keep in your back pocket until hopefully a late race if you absolutely have to use it. I mean, obviously the goal, right, is to go the entire race, make sure you don't have to use it, but having to burn it this early in a race, that's tough. I mean, that changes your mindset the rest of the way of, hey, I got to really tiptoe around now, knowing, you can't afford another mistake like that.
Absolutely not. Looks like Burgess is just now leaving pit road, still currently on the lead lap. I believe a driver that may have missed the start was the 85 of Stuart Ovens, and because this caution come out, he got the free pass, so all 33 cars will be on the lead lap when we go back green. Shane Tyrion over Landon Castle, Josh Weinrich, Brett Moffitt, and Derek Kraus. That's going to be your top 5. They'll be followed by Justin Gann, who had a strong car last time out at Darlington, was in that great third-place battle all race long with Max McLaughlin. Going to restart 6th, Noah Turpak 7th, Paul Wilson, David Grossclose, and Joey Coulter to complete the top 10. A lot of people remember name Joey Coulter. Drove the number 22 truck back, I think it was in 2013 or 2014. Actually went up into the catch fence at Daytona in the season opener.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was one of those kind of scary wrecks, make you hold your breath for a bit. But no, very talented driver for sure. Showed that in his time. But, I mean, just speaks to the names that we have in this field for this race, and that's what's been so cool about these events.
For the lights go out atop the pace car here. Now, we saw obviously a lot of drivers have some issue there with the slick tires on the initial start. These guys only got maybe, 3/4 of a lap in green flag conditions there on those tires. Is it basically, do you think, going to feel the exact same way as if they hadn't even run a lap as far as the grip they're going to have going into turn 1?
It might actually be a little bit better since those tires started to heat up just a tick. For the most part, though, probably still going to feel pretty icy. I mean, it's going to take a lap or two to really build up that heat and, get where you want to be. But we'll just have to keep an eye on it. I think really, the leaders, those top 10 guys, probably going to be fine. It's going to be more the middle of the pack on back that you're really going to have to watch out for.
And indeed, all 33 cars are still on the lead lap. Based off of the amount of time they spent on pit road, I do not believe that either the 32 of Brad McDaniel or the 88 of Bridget Burgess used their fast repair. So they still, I think, have those in the bank later on in this race.
I think that's a smart decision, too, right there, Seth. Just kind of say, all right, hey, messed up a little bit. It's too early to burn that. You could limp around a little bit if you need to, get some laps down. And, as long as you don't go a lap down or get yourself in trouble that way behind the 8-ball there, you could go ahead, burn that fast repair at a more opportune time, really.
Saw, too, that really that caution only came out because of a driver losing grip out of the corner. No contact or anything sending a car around. So now it seems like it's more the drivers battling the track than battling each other, at least early on in this race, as the pace car will head back down pit road. Lap 6 is when we're going to go back green, and another great start for Shane Terrian.
Yeah, he's just a good restarter. I mean, like I talked about earlier, smooth, calm, cool, collected. He knows how to handle these situations.
And Rick going to go to the inside of Landon Castle. That is for second. And then Derek Kraus and Brett Moffitt mixing it up for that 4th position. Let's see if everybody can make it out of turn 2 here. Looks like we're still green at this point in time. Landon Castle holding pretty good there on the top side. Tried to keep alongside the 61 for second place. And if enough drivers run up there, we may end up having a second groove.
And I think the track's hot enough, Seth. I mean, we're looking at 108 track temp right now that guys are going to be willing to try it. You know, drivers are going to be out there trying to really find speed all over the track. It's a wide enough track here in Kentucky. You can do that as long as you can keep the momentum. So especially as we get later on the race, you might see a couple people make their way through a field on that outside.
Two-way battle for the 5th position. Noah Turpak, the inside of Derek Kraus. Justin Gann right there as well in the 30. Whoa! Turpak, what a save there off of turn 4.
Big time save there by Turpak, and talk about the loose conditions. You see right there is harder side by side. You know, you lose a little bit of that aero going on, and it just makes it even more loose condition. Great save by Turpak.
Paul Wilson now into this battle, and that's got to be difficult for these drivers too, knowing that the track is so slick. The fact of, you know, you get back to the throttle too soon and cause those rear tires to slide coming out of the corner. Brian Truex back here in the 40 car had some issues back at the Darlington race, but right now running solidly in 9th, and right behind him, Stuart Friesen in that 52, currently in the top 10, but he's being hounded by David Grosclose.
Yeah, and you know, Friesen and Truex, Seth, I really think are going to kind of take a workman's approach to this race. They're, you know, hanging right there at the end of the top 10. They're feeling everything out these probably first 20, 30 laps, and then as you get to, you know, closer to the halfway point of the race, you know, runs allowing, everything like that, you're probably going to really see him start to push it a little bit.
Right there, the 34 of Grayson Pope on pit road, and looks like he's having some connection issues, or he may have taken his car in the wall already. Only 10 laps in, and the battle for the lead, it is heating up. Josh Weinrich right there with Shane Terrian, and I go back to the Darlington race, and really it just was the fact that ended up having so long of a green flag run at the end. Oh, caution is out, but just to finish my point there, we ended up having where Henrik had to pass so many cars in the last green flag run, he just didn't have enough tire rubber to reel Shane Terrian in.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was important for him today to make sure he's starting, you know, towards the front. He's probably going to have to really evaluate his strategy, make sure, you know, he can't find himself behind the A-ball at any point in this race.
A couple of drivers that pulled off track, and it might have been one of them, Logan Schuhart in the 01 and Brad McDaniel in the 20. We'll see if it was either one of them.
Might have been.
I don't know about iRacing. Does iRacing throw a caution if a car comes to a stop on the track?
It's very situational. Usually, if they're down off the track, probably will. Sometimes it can be a little finicky, but it all depends on where kind of they're stopped on the track. So maybe an odd situation. I'm looking like you are to try to find it. I'm not quite seeing it yet. So
I saw right there coming out of turn 2, Logan Schuhart pull his 01 onto the apron, but I don't know if that what brought the caution out or not.
And Schuhart was, you know, racing back there for position. He was around Jay Craybill and just in the 87. And to your point, maybe he just kind of tried to pull off and make sure he didn't bring out the caution, but something happened there, and that might have been it. So no big wreck or anything, just kind of one of those unfortunate things, it would seem.
Here's a look at the 32 of Brad McDaniel, and you see he actually goes up and into the wall there into turn 1, rides the wall, brushes it again off of turn 2, but he keeps his car straight. So I'm not sure what exactly that caution came out for, but whatever it was, second caution of the day here, and 15 laps in, already working 2 cautions. Got to think at some point, though, these drivers, they're going to get it figured out as far as how to approach this track. And I think we're going to be seeing a long green flag run, maybe around in the halfway point.
Yeah, and Seth, we've already got some big time strategy calls playing out here. It looks like everybody except Brett Moffitt, Ryan Truex, and Stuart Friesen pitted under that caution. All the rest of the leaders pitted. So those three, though, Moffitt, Truex, and Friesen, are now running 1, 2, 3, and they're going to stay out on about 10-lap old tires here, saying, hey, we got a couple of early cautions. Why not see what this feels like on a run here?
Also, David Grossclose, Max McLaughlin, John Shute, and Chris Quick decided to stay out. So the top 7 you mentioned going to be out there on 14, maybe 15 lap old tires when we eventually get back green. Highest driver with fresh tires is the 39 of Aiden Perdue. We'll see the difference between new tires and old tires, even if it's a 15 lap difference.
Trying to see if if Purdue and Turpak may have taken 2, because remember they were kind of a little bit, behind the leaders there in terms of the backside of the top 10. So I'll have to let you know on that real quick if they took 2 or not, because that could be all 3 levels of strategy: no tires, 2 tires, then 4 tires behind.
We're under caution, waiting for the lights to go out top the pace car. Tonight's race, the FeedNC 150 at Kentucky, sponsored by FeedNC. It was established in 1987 as the Mooresville Soup Kitchen. FeedNC, which stands for Food, Education, Essentials, and Dignity, is a food-focused resource that seeks to end the cycle of hunger and poverty with extensive programs and opportunities for those in need. Since its inception, FeedNC has expanded its services to include regional markets, a food pantry, and workforce education. In addition to thousands of lives it's impacted, FeedNC serves more than 100,000 meals annually and delivers more than 125,000 pounds of food a month. For those of you watching on YouTube, for those of you watching on Facebook Live, the link is provided if you want to go over and you want to donate to a very worthy cause. And pretty cool that Hattori Racing Enterprises has put on now 3 events for their local food pantry.
Yeah, I mean, what a deal, right? And it's such an amazing deal to see during this time, how so many companies, especially the racing side of things. I mean, people are just reaching out and doing all sorts of amazing deals, and I don't think there's much better out here than what Hattori Racing Enterprises has done. I mean, a lot of great racing, and not only that, but for such a noble cause too. It's amazing.
Ready to go back green. Let's see what happens here with those old tires versus the new tires. The guy we're watching is that very multicolored number 39 back there. His 4th car on that inside line. He is the one with freshest tires. The top 7 all stayed out. This green flag's going to come out in the air with Brett Moffitt getting us back underway.
And Seth, a quick note, the 39 of Aiden Perdue actually rolled through pit road. It looks like he couldn't quite find his box. And then Noah Turpak in the 8 did take 2, so everybody behind them, 4 tires from that point on.
Technically, Aiden Perdue is on old tires as well. It's just not showing up that way on our monitor.
Right, because he just rolled through in terms. So that's oh, look up high. The 61 Weinrich got pushed up there a little bit. 3 wide, Seth, off turn 4 back there.
Wow, and he nearly got cut off by, I believe that's the 29 of Brent Marks. That was a hairy situation from 3 all the way to 4. There's still 3 wide. Derek Kraus can't seem to find his way out of the middle.
Everybody on fresher tires trying to pass some of the old tire guys, and I mean, it's getting crazy. Ooh, big checkup right there by Shoot, and that, wow, what a job by those drivers to sort that out and not have a wreck.
Unbelievable. There should have been maybe a couple of wrecks there on that last lap and a half. Ooh, Turpak again.
Boy,
he does not like turn 4.
Looks like we got spin off 4 behind him.
Yes, we do, and I believe that might be the 18 of Trevor Vogel. There's a couple of other cars actually as well. Ollie White's coming to pit road in the 17. Craybill, I believe, was involved in the 87.
Yeah, it looked like Harley White and Craybill got together off a turn fourth. Seth just kind of ran out of space, both of them pushing off the corner. White coming down a little bit with a good run, and then Crable looked like maybe got a little tight, and they just kind of collided off four. Didn't look like they hit too hard, and for the most part, they collected it up.
I saw more smoke than damage over there in turn four, so it may have been one of those that we got away with. And oh boy, I see what you're talking about. They were actually 3 wide. I think that was the 2. Joey Coulter going into 3, and then it led to this. Another almost 3 wide there. I think that was the 19 up on the high side there of those guys. Back and see what happened with Bill's side of things, as we saw Harley White very carefully bring it onto pit road. Yeah, watch for that purple car there as well, the 18 of Trevor Vogel, because he was back behind this. I don't know if he spun as well by himself. Oh, well, yeah, he actually might have spun his also off of turn 4. He may have had 3 cars spinning off of turn 4 just in different areas of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, that's those loose tires, Seth, and then a little bit of the contact, and it doesn't take much to send you around. So, but Harley White, after making the contact and spinning out, did an excellent job to corral that on pit road. I mean, she just kind of collected it, checked it up, and made sure it didn't, go into the pit wall. That's always a scary situation when you're sideways and going through the grass towards pit road.
As I'm looking at it, I almost think that maybe Trevor Vogel was thinking of coming to pit road. Like he was going to come to pit lane. When he saw the smoke and saw the caution, he decided, nope, went to the right side of the commitment cone and instead it's come to pit road here under the yellow flag. So a very timely caution for him, because more than likely if that caution had come out maybe about 5 seconds later, he would have found himself possibly lap down, having to pit under yellow flag conditions after the caution flew.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be, especially, 20 laps into a 100-lap race. You don't want to do anything to really put yourself behind the 8-ball like that and have to work from the hole, if you will.
And Truex did manage to get around Brett Moffitt before that caution came out, so he is currently the leader. Moffitt back in second, Stuart Friesen in third. For those drivers that stayed out on old tires, they're still up there in the top 5 with Truex, Moffitt, Friesen, McLaughlin, and Grosclose. This driver now with fresh tires would be Landon Castle in 6th position, but it kind of looked like those old tires were able to hold up somewhat.
Yeah, those guys, Truex, Moffitt, Friesen, and McLaughlin, I think all in Grosclose for the most part too, took it pretty easy on that first, about 10-lap run we got or so, or 5-8 laps going there, and they kind of realized, hey, things, you might get a couple cautions, so let's kind of feel it out here, and it could really pay off. I mean, you'd be surprised on a hot track like this, tires fall off quickly, so really if you do a good job in the early run of saving, and you got somebody behind you with fresher tires, the difference isn't as big as you would think.
A lot of great sponsors on board here tonight for this race, including Toyota Chusho. And we want to say a big hello to all the executives there in New York of the company, as well as the president of the company, Mr. Sago, watching tonight's event. Appreciate them sponsoring this race. Of course, they also sponsor Austin Hill in the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series.
Yeah, great deal going on there. And, when we talk about just facilitating, what Toyota does, they've got some factories in Georgetown, Kentucky that stamps and cuts, aluminum, other parts like that to be put on the Camrys at the neighboring Toyota plants. So big part of the operation, and do a lot of great work for the Hattori Racing Enterprises, of course, and just overall in NASCAR.
A name that's missing here from the field that some people may be seen from the last time that we were racing at Darlington is Austin Hill, but he's at a family gathering this weekend, so hope he enjoys his time there with his family. Obviously spending some time away from the sim, and pretty cool that he's able to do that. Looking forward to seeing him obviously back on the track when NASCAR resumes, which we hear is very close on the horizon. About mid-May is when they're projecting that drivers will be getting back on track. And I'll bet there's a lot of guys here too. I bet they're having fun on the sim, but they want to get back in the seats of the real race cars.
Oh, no doubt about it. Funnily enough, I ran into Derek Kraus just doing a couple what you call public lobbies on the service a couple weeks ago, and yeah, he's one of those that you could definitely put in the camp of, hey, ready to go back racing. These guys and drivers, once they get out there, it's iRacing is the closest thing you could get compared to other sports, from a sim to real thing, but the real thing is just unbeatable. I mean, you get that itch, you want to get back out there.
Absolutely. As we get ready to go back green, nearing the quarter of the way mark. Truex tucked down in line behind him. Deja Vu, just the roles were reversed there, with Moffitt tucking down behind Truex.
Yeah, just settling in, settling down. These three up front, Truex, Moffitt, Freeze, and I think they're going to really try to, see if they could, put a little bit of a gap on the field here and try to make sure they're separated from Weinreck and Shane Therian back there, who are kind of mired back in traffic a bit.
The Gross close held off Landon Castle, and I was wondering, when we would see Mad Max make his way up here to the front. Started 33rd in this race, dead last, now battling with Stuart Friesen for the third position. Yes, he used pit strategy. He was one of those drivers that stayed out, has not pitted yet, but boy, looks like he's awfully racy even with those older tires.
Yeah, and we mentioned, Seth, that qualifying was group qualifying. I noticed his lap time was 15 seconds slower than anybody else. So it looks like he purposely kind of set himself up to start in the back. That way he could kind of evaluate how things were going to go in the early part of this race. And now, like you said, he's on the prowl looking to strike here.
About Brett Moffitt, Gander Outdoor Truck Series champion, going back to the front, passing Ryan Truex. And Truex, his worries are not over. He looks in his rearview mirror. He sees Max McLaughlin. He sees Stuart Friesen, but the caution is out.
Just as they were about to get real racy off in there to 3, and Max McLaughlin just kind of, saying, dang, man, saved by the bell right there. He's about to clear Truex, I think, off into that corner and would have set his sights on Brett Moffitt pretty quickly.
It is the 9 of Kevin Bellacourt who brings out this fourth caution of the day. Looks like he had an incident there in turn 2. We'll go back and see what happened to his Toyota.
Another quick sponsor we want to shout out, Seth, that's been a great partner of this as well as Ison. They're, we want to talk about stepping up and doing some great things. So we mentioned a little bit already, but just so special to see all these people come together and put on such a great event here in a great series of events for Hattori Racing Enterprises and FeedNC.
Absolutely, and you saw right there a little bit of contact. Bellacourt up the track. It was hard to tell who the other driver was that got a piece of it. Try and go back and see if I can find who that driver was. We'll actually go on board with them. It might have been, I think, in the 35 car.
Yeah, I think it was right there.
I will go on board here with the Bang Energy board. He's hoping the 9 car stays up. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Pretty good contact there with the right front.
Yeah, and that was and Bryce McDonald got the other piece of that, like you were talking about, from Bellacourt. And it's just one of those situations where you get into the mid part of that corner here in Kentucky and you try to get back on the gas. You got somebody on the outside of you, and then it just starts to push up on you. You're not ready for it. It just takes hold, and that's kind of what we saw right there.
Obviously, you've raced on the iRacing sim. I only know of iRacing from a spectator point of view. Have you seen anybody take any hits so far here in these 4 cautions that would require repair, or have you seen hits that basically they can go out, ride it out, and still keep that fast repair for later on in the race?
For the most part, I think everybody's been, with the exception maybe of Burgess, that one was kind of a tough hit. Everything else has looked, maybe a little rough here and there, but really, even if it's, I'm down on horsepower a little bit, it's one of those situations where I could ride around the back, let things sort out, and, save that last fast repair. Because, it's just so crucial. I wouldn't even consider using it until about halfway through the race, unless, of course, I was at terminal damage. But you might have to limp around a little bit, but that's just part of the deal a little bit. It's just having that strategy on the back end of it.
28 of the 30 cars still running are going to be on the lead lap. Harley White just got the free pass. The Lucas Oil National Sprint Cars and World of Outlaws Sprint Car driver. So she's back on the lead lap. Byron McDonald spent a little bit extra time on pit road. He's still on the lead lap. We do have 2 cars that are off the lead lap, however. The 18 of Trevor Vogel, who we saw slow up just before that incident for the 3rd caution out of 4. Looked like he was going to come to pit road, and I don't know if maybe something was amiss on that machine or what, but he's fallen 2 laps down now. And also the 4 of Chris Quick, currently running -2 to the race leaders. So they'd love to see a couple more cautions, get some free passes, get back on the lead lap. As we've now passed the quarter of the way mark, we're working our 4th caution of the day. I mean, obviously, I think in terms of track conditions, with the temperature that this track is when it started to what it is now, it's slick. And it's not exactly the type of conditions they faced at Darlington. Really, grip was not their issue. It was execution and the technicality of those corners. Here today, it's more about keeping your car underneath you.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned the changing temperature. When you have a slick set and especially one of the early run like this, and then the temperature drops even more, Seth, that creates a little bit more of an icy condition. You have to really ease back onto that throttle. I call it kind of just, like imagining having an egg underneath your pedal pretty much, right? Like you've got to treat it with a lot of patience. And it's so easy just to feed into, somebody's pulling away from me. I got to match that. I got to get back in the gas. Then all of a sudden you find yourself getting loose. You're slipping, you got to check up, or you're spinning out, which we've seen a couple times so far today.
I've just received word that we are having single file restarts the remainder of this race, and that's why you do not see them doubling up behind the pace car with the lights out. Brett Moffitt's going to not have anybody to his outside here. Ryan Truex will line up behind him in 2nd, Max McLaughlin 3rd, Stuart Friesen 4th, David Grosclose in 5th. Those drivers still have yet to come to pit road since the drop of the green flag. Brandon Castle, Justin Gann, Derek Kraus, Aiden Perdue, and Paul Wilson are your top 10 as Brett Moffitt gets us back underway. And whoa, looked like he may have spun the tires a tiny bit there.
Yeah, he was trying to get back on that quick, being in the single file restarts like that. He realized, hey, I've got a good opportunity to kind of get a nice jump here on Truex, but almost threw it away there, but did a good job to corral it. Now, though, he's going to have Ryan Truex kind of stalking him here as they go into 3 or 4.
It's closer for that 3rd position. Stuart Friesen trying to get around Max McLaughlin. Meanwhile, behind them, you've got a battle for 5th. It's David Grosclose trying to hold off Landon Castle. It seems like everybody's kind of got these 1v1 battles because you go back another 2 cars. That's where you've got Gann up into the wall as he's battling with Derek Kraus.
Yeah, Kraus is looking to recover some spots. Kind of got shuffled around a little bit on that last restart. And I think he's going to find his foot in here. You see him get around Gann and look to set his sights here on Landon Castle.
A little further, and you find Josh Weinrich, Shane Tyrion back here all together in 13th and 14th. As right now, Weinrich is kind of boxed in behind Derek Newsom in the 50, the 29 of Brent Marks. I'm sorry, Brent Marks.
29
boy.
Got loose.
And he's going to spin it around. Oh, no, he saved it. I thought he was going to spin it to the infield grass, but he kept it going. Give a little assist there to Josh Weinrich to get that car pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, Weinrich did the proper thing right there. A lot of people had the reaction to, oh, no, somebody's loose outside, may need to check up. Better just stay on the throttle right there. And in fact, as you can see, it helped out Marks, helped him, stay straight a bit. But Weinrich, that shouldn't hurt him too bad. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of damage. But considering that's going to be on the side of the car, it's not going to be as bad as if it was, on those front bumpers or that rear bumper, for instance.
That was not a textbook slide job, but Landon Castle literally slid into the entrance of turn 3, trying to go to the inside. David Grosclose, this is for 5th place. Looks like he's going to clear him off of turn 1. Meanwhile, you got a dogfight. 3 cars up here battling for 2nd. Truex, McLaughlin, and Friesen.
Yeah, and Truex is a solid steady driver. Got to race with him kind of throughout my trails here in iRacing, but he's also one of those guys too. He's going to defend hard, if he needs to. And so we'll see how he handles McLaughlin here. He seems kind of hungry to get up there and really challenge Brett Moffitt.
Can keep this run going. We're going to have to keep an eye on Landon Castle Out of the guys up here in the top 10 is the one on freshest tires, and yet he's been out there 21 laps on the set he's got on. Right now, the driver highest in the field with the freshest tires would be Shane Terrian. He's back in the 13th position.
Yeah, we'll hear from that 38 car by the end of this race, Seth. By the time everything settles out, I'm sure. So him and Weinreich are going to be two guys we're going to have to watch to see how they progress up into the top 10 and then maybe, back to the battle for the win.
There's Stuart Friesen putting his 2 tires, actually almost all 4, down onto the apron below the yellow line. That is not in out of bounds here at Kentucky. You can use the apron to pass. He's able to complete the pass out of turn 2, move Friesen up to the top 3 in 3rd place.
And that's that, veteran driver taking over right there. Got the young man McLaughlin trying to get after it. McLaughlin overruns Sainz a bit, and then Friesen just kind of lying in the wait, takes advantage of that all of a sudden.
I don't know if it would necessarily be on a sim, but I would think with the dirt track background Stuart Friesen has, he's got to love the fact that the rear end's sliding around in these corners.
Oh, yeah. Any of those guys that come from the dirt background like that or drivers, they will tell you, they're going to drive better on a loose end. I mean, that's just how it is. It's what you're used to. It's that same type of feeling. So Friesen's probably going to have a better idea than a lot in this field of when that thing is starting to kind of, come around on him a bit. He knows how to still keep really good momentum out of it, whereas other people might continue their slide or not correct it quick enough.
You know this as well as I do. These drivers, they have to fight through the loose condition early on because the reason most setups start out pretty loose is if we get into a long green flag run like we're doing right now, the setup's going to start to get tighter. So if you start out loose, the setup gets tight, it's going to feel really good on the long run. If you start out with a tight setup on the start, it's going to be really tight when you get 25, 30 laps in.
Especially in a track like Kentucky, where when you're tight, it just starts pushing and pushing and pushing. It doesn't feel like you'll ever stop. And it looked like we talked up Friesen and jinxed him a bit because he got loose right there, Seth, and relinquished that position right back to Max McLaughlin. And then look who's around him, Landon Castle on that outside powering through.
Castle in the blue Emu Chevrolet Camaro going to move up to the 4th spot. Now he sets his sights on Ryan Truex, who's under fire from Max McLaughlin. Derek Kraus, you mentioned him trying to battle back after fading on a couple of restarts ago. He's now joined this group. You got 5 cars all up here, pretty much only separated by about half a second.
And 5 Willman just going to town right now at it in this group. And who's loving it, of course, is Brett Moffitt out front. I mean, he just put on about 4-5 tenths all of a sudden on this group.
And he's done that on old tires that have been on the car since the start of this race. I'm looking at his lap times right now. He's only running about 5 tenths slower than his fastest lap of the race, and that's not a whole lot of fall off, especially with the way we're seeing these drivers slipping and sliding around.
Yeah, it's really not as severe as probably what these guys behind him are starting to experience now, because the more you battle like that, the quicker those tires are going to just chew up, especially at a rough track like Kentucky.
Max McLaughlin managed to make his way through the traffic there. He's moved into 2nd place. Castle's moved into 3rd. The last time by, they both ran faster lap times than Brett Moffitt. So we may end up seeing them chip away at what was over a 2nd lead. Could have a battle for the top spot in the next 2 to 3 laps, depending on how fast McLaughlin is. Looking at this battle here for the 4th position, Stuart Friesen trying to hold off Derek Kraus. There is a difference of 12 laps between the tires of the 31 and the 19.
Yeah, and Kraus just been real impressive here. You talked about how he lost a little bit on that last double file restart. He's gained it back pretty quickly and made some good work lap by lap here of a lot of people. And Ryan Truex back there in that 40 is falling off just a little bit, Seth. I think you're starting to see where he may have pushed a little bit too hard in that battle.
Truex in 6th, David Grosclose in 7th. We're part of those 5 drivers that have not yet come to pit lane since we started this event. Just to bring you up to date as well of drivers towards the rear of the field, Brad McDaniel has brought his machine to the garage area, so 30 cars still running, and also looks like an unscheduled stop for the 88 of Bridget Burgess, now fallen 2 laps down to the leader, currently running in the 30th position, last car on track.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be. They're definitely going to need some cautions to be able to make that up, which, at this point, we're getting to about the midpoint of the race. You might get a couple lucky breaks, so they're just going to hold out hope for sure.
Moffitt, the NASCAR Gander Outdoor and RV Truck Series champion, looks in his rearview mirror and starting to close in on him is the number 1 of Max McLaughlin, the ARCA Menard Series driver, and he's bringing Landon Castle in the 32 along with him.
Well, we talked about it a little bit. Landon Castle, of course, has been just about everywhere, Seth. It seems like anytime there's a special event on iRacing being put on, that's, Landon Castle is there. So you got to wonder, at what point does his experience kind of trump some of these other guys? We got another caution, Seth.
Yes, we do, and I believe it might possibly be 39 of Aiden Purdue. He's got quite a bit of damage there on the right rear. Looks like this might have been out of turn 4.
Oh, yeah, right in front of the 54 of, I believe that's Tom Bourne. Yeah, and just Purdue looks like he gets a little loose right there off of 4. Cause some issues.
Yeah, right there. Oh, wow. Tried to save it. Almost overcorrected.
I mean, Purdue is a driver in the Lucas Oil Power Midget Series, so when we talk about being used to loose condition, you got to really fight those things. So just about had it corrected, but just got him just enough to nose it back up into the wall.
Go on board here with the car carrying the Flatout Racing Network colors here tonight. Tom Bourne in the 54 car, and we're going to see just how close he was to almost getting involved into this one.
Did a great job of checking up right there as he watched Purdue get loose.
Right there, you can see Purdue knew he was in trouble, tries to hang on to it. But the good news maybe is that he possibly have only gotten damage to the rear of the car. With the car being as loose as it is, how is that damage going to affect him if they can't get it fully repaired?
It will definitely hurt a bit. It's going to make the condition even worse on the short run. The long run, as the tires settle in, it might not be too bad, although just having that rear aero messed up like that on a track like this, anytime you're, nose to tail or side by side, it's going to do some different things on you that you're not used to. Maybe it'll tighten up in a spot, you weren't ready for it to tighten up, or it'll snap quicker, off the corner. So you just got to kind of keep that in mind and realize you may have to change your style up just a bit.
What a crazy battle off pit road there. It looked like shoppers on Black Friday. They were all 3 wide, 4 wide coming off pit road. Looked like Landon Castle at the position off of pit lane. So he's going to restart third as 2 drivers decided to stay out under this caution. Crable in the 87 inherits the lead. Stuart Owens in the 85 also stays out. And I don't know if they're going to pit road this time, or if they are indeed going to be staying out for this caution. If that's the case, that's going to be 27 and 34 lap old tires in front of Landon Castle and Brett Moffitt.
True. I mean, you want to talk about a gamble right there. That is a big gamble, but we'll have to see how they handle it. It looks like Craybill, like you're talking about, going to inherit that lead.
He stayed out.
Owens real interesting.
Ovens did come to pit road there in the 85 car, so be a little bit of a smart idea.
No doubt. And then Bridget Burgess right there looking to get that wave around, if it's going to work out. Put her back a lap down, so would be battling for that lucky dog, looks like, with Trevor Vogel potentially in the 18.
Believe the recipient of the free pass for this caution was the 35 of Byron McDonald. He's had a bit of an adventurous day as he was caught up in the 4th caution. It was the 4th caution with contact between himself and Kevin Lacourt. Now he's back on the lead lap, and this is interesting too, because I don't know if you got a chance to find out what the fuel window is for these guys, but we're going to be going back green right in the vicinity of halfway.
Yeah, so it turned out the fuel window was about a full 60 laps. Now we figured tire-wise with the tire wear, you wouldn't be able to make it those full 60 laps unless you were super careful. So technically, the Castles, the Moffitts, McLaughlins, all those people that just came to pit road, they can make it the rest of the way on fuel. Depending on the runs we get here, you'll probably see them maybe pit for tires one more time. You may not. I mean, we see some people already gamble in this race, and this is where things are going to get real dicey here, Seth. If we get a 20-25 lap run, there's going to be some tough decisions to be made.
Absolutely is. I mean, we saw that last run between the fourth and fifth caution. We got to see really what the fresh tires can do with the charge Landon Castle was making. Even on old tires, Max McLaughlin was making a hard charge. So now that he's got fresh rubber under him, I would definitely keep an eye on that one car on this restart.
No doubt. Before McLaughlin stayed out and got the track position, you got to remember he was back there, and I think he did a good job of just kind of waiting things out a little bit to make sure he had some decent fresh rubber for that run. But to your point, I think him on these full fresh tires with the track position he's got, you might see some special things coming out of that car.
Jay Craybill is going to be the leader. When we go back green here, we have not gotten the one green signal. I thought we might have it this time. We will probably get it this next time around. So Craybill will be the leader. Landon Castle lines up second. Brett Moffitt in third. Max McLaughlin fourth. And Noah Turpak completes top five. Derek Kraus in sixth. Weinrich in seventh. Shane Tyrion eighth. David Grossclose in ninth, and Justin Gang completes the top 10. Since we're nearing the halfway point, we'll give you a full field rundown here with Stuart Friesen lined up in 11th, Derek Newsom in 12th, Paul Wilson lines up 13th, rest of the top 15, Joey Coulter and Tom Bourne. Mark Ellis runs 16th, Brent Marks in 17th, Stephen Taranto in 18th, Neil Quick 19th, and Kevin Bellacourt 20th. Ron Schutz 21st, 22nd, Ricky Hart Jr., Stuart Owens in 23rd, Aaron McDonald 24th, 25th place is going to be Aiden Purdue. Harley White's going to be 25th. Looks like Byron McDonald may have come to pit road, so the running order is going to be a little bit different here. So moving up to 24th is Purdue. Ryan Truex moves up to 25th. Harley White now in 26th. Byron McDonald's going to be back in 27th. He's the last car on the lead lap, and the cars still running that are a lap down. Trevor Vogel in 28th. He's one lap down. Chris Quick in 29th, and Bridget Burgess in 30th. Those two drivers are 2 laps down to the race leader.
Seth, what do you think, Jay Craybill's thinking right here, kind of leading Landon Castle, Brett Moffitt, and this group behind him? I mean, this is going to have to be the restart of Craybill's life.
Definitely is. I mean, 30-lap-old tires. I would be a little bit concerned here about going down into turns 1 and 2, especially coming off of turn 4, because we've seen guys, even with fresh tires, have a lot of issues. And you got to wonder as well, how long is Landon Castle going to wait? He's got to know the situation, and he had a fast car there on the last green flag run. He's going to want to gap himself from everybody else behind him because they're on the same pit strategy he is now.
And Craybill gets a pretty smooth start right there. Nice and easy. Didn't really spin the tires. Now, though, we'll see how he handles turns 1 and 2.
Up by about maybe a car length, maybe 3 for Landon Castle. You see Castle run a little bit higher there through 1 and 2, and caution.
Craybill's probably a little bit happy there. He's got a great start, but you can see Castle with that upper line really generating some good speed.
Then Paul Wilson, that Mike Skinner livery, that number 5 Toyota Supra. Might have had a little trouble up in turn 1. I don't see a whole lot of visible damage on that machine. It was the car that was off the pace.
Oh, yep. He went down into turn 1 right there and maybe get a little help. Potentially, no, just got loose, it looks like. Just got a little loose, started the loose condition, and couldn't quite corral it. That was Joey Coulter, who was right behind him. And, yeah, that was, I mean, good job by Coulter to check up. And Paul Wilson, to your point, didn't really, take any big damage, just kind of looped it a little bit.
Another near miss for the 54 of Tom Bourne, who was right behind Coulter as well. And tremendous credit, really, to that machine of Wilson to not hit the wall. He looped it up there, maybe to the third groove, started up, kept it straight, never hit anything.
Yeah, did an excellent job. Nice and controlled. Big story developing, though. Seth, Landon Castle looks like he just came down pit road from the second position.
I would assume that is not scheduled, as everybody else has stayed out. I wonder if there was a penalty or something, maybe?
I didn't see anything egregious on the restart. I mean, he slid the tires, I think, just a tick, as we saw Craybill pull away from him. But, yeah, not quite sure what's going on there. Looks like...
I kind of questioned a couple of restarts ago when Truex tucked in line behind Moffitt, and then when Moffitt tucked in line behind Truex, I almost thought they made a lane change too early, but neither one penalized. So apparently that is legal, and so I was thinking maybe that might have been something Castle did, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it looks like Castle may have gone
Oh,
behind the wall, so not
yes,
quite
he
sure what
did.
went on there. Maybe something came up, no clue. So no clue there.
Sometimes that happens. Stuart Ovens as well in the 85 has gone behind the wall. So it looks like we're going to have 28 cars still to complete this race at this point in time. I'm being told that we are actually going to go back to double file restarts here. We are now past the halfway point. So maybe that's something that Jay Crable did not want to know about because the fact that he got himself such a good jump on single file restarts there, that last restart.
Not only that, when you're single file like that, you get a solid jump. You don't have to face near as much pressure from behind you, or to the outside of you heading off into turn one. You got some more space to work with. That's not going to be the case now. He's going to have to get another great jump that way. He can make sure he's got the proper lane he wants going off into turn one.
Thank everybody that's tuned in here tonight to the FeedNC 150 at Kentucky Speedway, the third round here of the special events held by the Hattori Racing Enterprises Group. I want to thank another sponsor that came on board here tonight, Toyota Shoe Show. Shoe Show America Incorporated is a multi-market, multi-business enterprise which has operated in North America for over 50 years. Based on both the heritage and the vision of our parent company, Toyota Shoe Show Corporation, the trading affiliate of the Toyota Group companies, we have grown our traditional trading business model by developing new manufacturing, immediate goods processing, and logistics activities in the United States, Canada, Mexico, and the Caribbean. We want to thank them for sponsoring tonight's event. And of course, as we mentioned before, want to give a shout out to all the executives there in New York that are watching tonight's race, including the president of Toyota Shoe Show, Mr. Sago. Appreciate them tuning in. And again, just a big thanks from us here at Flatout Racing Network for making this thing possible.
Yeah, I mean, what a series of events to bring together here for FeedNC. Just amazing. That's, been the beautiful thing of, the tough times and seeing, the ability to give back still and, give back to your communities like this and just, have some good times and some good fun.
Just to remind everybody as well that namesake of this race, it is a food pantry in Mooresville, North Carolina, where Hattori Racing Enterprises has their garage and workshop area. And so supporting a local charity there. And if you'd like to be able to get in on it and donate as well, links are provided down in the description of the YouTube video that you are currently watching, as well as in the comments of the Facebook Live broadcast. Tyler, double file restart yet again past the halfway point. Is there anything these guys may have learned from the single file restarts that now they can apply in the double file restarts and maybe go back into another long green flag run like we saw earlier on?
Just kind of to take it easy right here. You can make up spots as long as you get past the first 2 or 3 laps. You don't want to get 2 or 3 wide off the bat right here.
Flag in the air, and boy, Derek Kraus down there on the apron tried to make it 3 wide before the start finish line, had to back out of it. Now he's side by side for 4th with Noah Turpak as the top 3 getaway single file for the moment.
And how about Crable holding strong on these restarts? No tire spin. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Oh, Kraus back there. Looks like he lost it off the corner a bit and had to save it. He corralled it. Great save there by Derek Kraus, excuse me.
There have been 2 cars that actually took the same route towards the inside wall off of 2. Kraus was 1. The other might have been Derek Newsom in the 50 car, but great job by both of them to save it. And it is a hornet's nest back here.
Yeah, this is not where you want to be. If you're one of these cars with some speed, because it gets real messy back here real quick. A lot of different lines in place and a lot of different ways to, get in trouble earlier.
Just wait, they'll be up at the front. There is our runner-up finisher from Darlington, Josh Weinrich, now moving into the 3rd spot. That bright green and black machine there is the number 38, the defending winner from Darlington, Shane Terry, and all of a sudden, they're up in the top 5.
What a move by Terry right there. 3 wide, gets past Graybill, holds strong on McLaughlin on the outside line there. And boy, these two are on the hunt right now trying to get that lead, Seth.
Moffitt now out in front. Battle's going to be for second. Weinrich on the back bumper of Noah Turpek. Behind them, you got Max McLaughlin. He's going to lose a position to Shane Terrian, who did it on the outside down the back straightaway, moving into fourth.
Yeah, right where he wants to be now, right behind Weinrich. And I think, I don't know if it would be smart to challenge Weinrich right here. Just kind of, I would say, follow his tire tracks, let him take you up to that battle for the lead.
Take a look here at the guys we've got running third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. It's the guys that finished first, second, third, and fourth at Darlington.
Oh, Weinrich with a little bit of a slip there, Seth, and look at Terry just going to power by him and McLaughlin as well, potentially.
A little bit of a mistake loses you momentum. When it loses you momentum, it loses you positions as Max McLaughlin tries to swing around the outside of the similar liveried Toyota Supra. Might have him cleared. He does when they get to the start-finish line. Meanwhile, Shane Terrian, he's on the charge. He just got around Noah Turpak for second. He's got about half a second to make up on Brett Moffitt.
Oh, yeah, and once he saw Weinrich, have that little bit of a bobble, he's home free right now. He's trying to get up there as quick as possible to start distancing himself from the rest of the field here.
Further back behind this, you got a pretty good three-way battle. That's Stuart Friesen in seventh, Derek Krause in eighth, and Tom Bourne, who's been doing a good job keeping that car clean, even though there's been a couple near misses in front of him in 2 of the last 3 cautions. Right now in that 9th position, these drivers all battling inside of the top 10, trying to see if they can work their way up to these top 6.
Yeah, and Friesen, we talked about him, thought he was going to make kind of an early charge here and then kind of fell off a bit, but he's collected himself. Him and Krause make that big save, and another caution, Seth, as soon as we get to talking about it.
I believe it may have been 92 of Steven Taranto, and I believe the guy that stayed out in those old tires, Jay Craybill, may have been involved as well. Looks like quite a bit of rear-end damage on his Camaro.
Oh, yeah. It looks like coming out in turn 2, Seth, may have been the trouble spot. They might have been 3 wide right there. Looks like it might have been the 5 of Paul Wilson, the 92, and then the 87 of Craybill, and they just all kind of ran out of space, it looks like, unfortunately.
Caution out for the 7th time here tonight, as we have now closed in on 40 laps to go. So a little bit of contact there for the 39 of Aiden Purdue.
Yeah, who had fought back and was trying to, work into that top 15, and all of a sudden now Purdue has no hood on the car, unfortunately. Wonder if the fast repair has been used or not yet.
If I remember back, the wreck that he had, most of the contact was with the rear of the car when he had that incident up, and I think it was turn 1, so he may still have his fast repair. We're going to go on board with him, what he saw. Here's the 3 wide. Looking from his onboard, I don't think there was any contact between Wilson and Taranto. I think Taranto just moved up to give room and didn't realize that the car was to his outside.
Yeah, and that's so easy to do here, especially off the corner. I mean, it's tough to tell where everybody's at, when they're sprawled out like that. So very easy to lose track of who's outside or inside of you like that.
Side of 40 laps to go, we continue to see strategy play out as 4 drivers stay out under this caution. Max McLaughlin, Justin Gann, Ryan Truex, and Trevor Vogel. First time we mentioned him up inside of the top 5 today. That's a guy that about maybe 30 laps ago was 2 laps down to the leaders, but he's gotten a couple of free passes back on the lead lap and now gains himself some track position by staying out on what would be about 16 lap old tires.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Vogel was playing the patient part. We mentioned being a laps down a couple of times, but, took the pits when the opportunity was there under the yellows, and probably, I would imagine, and you know better than me, but as far as, tire-wise, might not be in that bad of a situation despite being a couple laps down at one point.
Jay Craybill actually had possibly missed his pit stall as he's now coming to pit lane. Down through the running order. So with McLaughlin staying out, Gann in second, Truex in third, and Vogel in fourth, Brett Moffitt is going to be the highest up there with the fresh tires, restarting fifth, Shane Terrian in sixth, Noah Turpak in seventh, Josh Weinrich in eighth, Derek Kraus in ninth, and Tom Bourne is going to complete the top 10. Free pass car, I believe, under that caution, I think, was Bridget Burgess, so this puts her now to only 1 lap down. Aiden Purdue on pit road, now 1 lap down. Definitely looks like the amount of time he spent on pit road, he did use his fast repair. And another driver that I think may have gotten a penalty here on pit road, the 31 of Stuart Friesen, who's now going to restart all the way back in the 24th position.
It was a wild race on pit road, so there may have been a little bit of speed involved. That would be my guess. That is, when that happens, you just kind of shake your head. You're like, what am I doing? So we'll have to see how Stewart works his way back through the field. Obviously, a talented woman, so I'm sure could be, pulling the patience off to be able to do it.
The lights went out atop the pace car, so we're going back green with, if my projections are correct, about 37 laps to go. It's almost looking like there could be some shadows over there in turns 1 and 2. I don't know if that's caused the track temperature to maybe go down a little bit, give these drivers a little bit more grip going into the first couple corners.
We are down to 99 degrees now on the track temps. Started the race up at 117 or so, have fallen all the way down to just under triple digits. That's a huge difference, especially for these guys on older tires that have experienced, some of those early restarts when it's hotter. They're going to be able to have a little bit more confidence now to be able to get back on that gas a bit quicker. You still got to treat it with some respect and patience, but you can kind of get back on it a tick quicker.
The shadows of 1 and 2 down to the sunlight down the back straightaway and into 3 and 4. So are these drivers going to feel a difference on 2 ends of the racetrack? And if so, how much is that going to throw them off? As McLaughlin's going to get ready to get us back underway alongside of Justin Gann. These two had a dogfight at Darlington for the 3rd position. Now they're going to be in it for the race lead as McLaughlin, a great start. He's going to start to get away almost by 2 car lengths before they even get to the start-finish line.
Yeah, and then a little bit of chaos ensuing behind with Ryan Truex jumping down under Gann, and then Moffitt looking hungry as well in that 23.
We were 3 wide going into turn 1. They're still almost 3 wide. That's Trevor Vogel on old tires, stuck in the middle. Tries to tuck in line up in front of Tom Bourne, as I think that might have been Wilson. Paul Wilson, the 5 back there, almost got into the inside wall as he got loose off of 2. They're almost 4 wide through turn 3.
I mean, you're seeing the difference there between the fresh and old tires. And just, oh my goodness, door to door, bumper to bumper, almost chaos, but they make it through somehow. That's a credit to these drivers. And there goes 18.
Oh, there they go. 4. Tom Bourne into the wall hard. Vogel hits the wall. We got another car spinning. That is, I believe, Ron Shute. Chaos in turn 1 brings out the 8th caution of the day. And the way they were racing there, you kind of got the feeling something was going to happen. Looks like Stuart Friesen got spun off of turn 2 as well.
Yeah, that happened right in the middle of the pack sets. So at that point, everybody's scrambling behind them to check up and, try to get on the brakes quick enough. But with how loose these cars are in the early part of the run, that could be a really difficult task.
We saw Tom Bourne up the track almost into the wall off of turn 4 trying to get around the 18. And as you see right here, looks like Vogel may have carried a little too much speed. The car almost really never turned as he went up into left rear quarter panel of Tom Bourne, puts him up into the wall. You see the smoke there. That is Shute in the 028. We'll go and see who he went around off the nose of, because that was a follow-up wreck. And then we'll look and see what happened to Stuart Friesen.
Oh, it looks like Shute may have went off the nose of the 5 of Paul Wilson back there, and then that collected Friesen, and also got, looks like Kevin Bellecourt as well, potentially involved in that one.
You saw right there. There's where Friesen got involved. He kind of sideswiped. I think that was Wilson.
I think it was either Wilson or Bellecourt that he sideswiped right there as Shute was, sideways in front of him. So just nowhere to go there for a lot of drivers.
Pretty significant damage there to the right front of Friesen's Mark Toyota Supra, and yeah, right there it was Bellecourt that he got into, as he almost got clipped by Shoot, whose car was drifting back down the track as well.
Yeah, and that's where it gets real scary. You got cars going high, low. You got to drive through the smoke a little bit if you're one of those people trying to avoid that. For the most part, though, Seth, despite all that chaos, that could have been a lot worse, I think, in terms of a stack up. Um, and most people avoided it pretty well. Everybody kind of heads up right there.
Agree. And I think we definitely saw as well, we see McLaughlin, Truex, Gann staying out still. They're on 22-lap old tires. With what we just saw Vogel have to go through, trying to find some safe place to go, knowing that he was maybe about 3 to 4 tenths slower than the fresh tires around him. That's something these guys might have to think about as we're nearing 30 laps to go.
Yeah, well, I told you get about 25, 30 laps into the run here from that big slew of pit stops we had about lap 45. And people are going to have to make some tough decisions, or they're going to have to, really be some, do some smart driving. And I think we're about to see, probably a mix of both here in the next 10 to 15 laps, caution or no caution. How do you handle that if you do get a caution with about 20 to go? Do you come in and pit finally? It's going to be a crucial part of the race here, especially for most of the top 10.
We definitely know as well that based off of the fact that the laps are closing in towards the end of this race, these drivers are getting to the point where they're not going to give an inch. Restarts are going to continue to be crazy, and so I don't think we've seen our last caution by any stretch of the imagination. And if we continue to have quite a number of cautions, you got to think maybe that plays into the strategy of McLaughlin, Truex, and Gann. They're thinking, hey, we may be on older tires, but if we keep this track position and get these quick cautions, we may be able to stay up here until we get to the end of the race.
Oh, no doubt. And I think one thing that's been really interesting to monitor here since the iRacing service updated this tire model is, although it is more punishing if you do not take care of it, if you are one of those people that figure it out, know how to take care of them in the early run, you could really capitalize with that track position. It seems like pretty much any track we go to nowadays, track position is king almost no matter what.
Case in point, Stuart Friesen was up in the top 10 before a lot of drivers came to pit road. Got the penalty, started at the back of the pack, got caught up the following caution. I've actually been told as well that he had an unsafe pit entry, which is why he had to start at the rear of the field, and now he's got that damage as we saw when he sideswiped Kevin Bellecourt in the 9 machine. So it just shows, as you said, track position is king, and if you're in the back, times you get collected up in those instances that happen either up at the front or in the mid-pack.
Yeah, that's always the toughest thing too, because then you feel like, oh man, I messed up. I made a wrong call strategy-wise. When in reality, sometimes you just get unlucky. You do what you got to feel is, best for you in the long run of the race. And I'm sure that's what Stewart made that mistake, but he's thinking, okay, I can recover, and then all of a sudden, unfortunately, chaos ensues. So I think he might still be able to rebound. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on it, but it's going to be a definite story here over the last 30 laps.
31 laps to go when we go back green. Max McLaughlin had a great restart the last time. We'll see if he can do it again. Ryan Truex lines up behind him with Justin Gann in third. Those drivers have been out there the longest on their tires, 24 laps, and being told it's a single file restart. Moffitt's going to line up in fourth. Noah Turpak in fifth. The rest of the top 10, Josh Weinrich, Derek Kraus, Shane Terrian, Close, and Derek Newsom's going to complete the top 10. Laughlin, as soon as the pace car hits pit road, into the throttle, tries to cut the shortest way around the track down on the apron. Not as big a restart as he had last time, but definitely manageable as he goes into turn
behind
1.
him. Weinrich got a little contact there with Moffitt. Moffitt went up into the wall in that 23, and I think they saved it, but that was almost a big-time mess there right at the top 5.
Had a little bit more contact after that, but to your point, both keep it going. Weinrich's going to fall only back to 8th. The guy that's really losing spots is Brett Moffitt. He's now dropped out of the top 10 back to around the 13th position.
Yeah, he bounced off the wall a couple times there, so he should have some right side damage.
Contact there as Weinrich tried to go around the outside of Grossclose in the 33. He almost went up into the wall off of turn 4.
People getting antsy right now with these differences in tires. And it's made for some really tight racing throughout this one.
battle we're looking at here for 7th with Newsom. Close Weinrich. You got Brent Marks back there as well. How about Ricky Hart Jr. in the 13, that Mountain Dew car? We haven't talked much about him. He's now trying to crack the top 10, currently in the 11th spot. Joey Coulter's been having a solid day, currently in 12th.
Yeah, Coulter's been, kind of near that top 10 most of the day. And you talk about Ricky Hart Jr. Started 32nd. It just quietly has kind of marched up here towards the top 10.
Now McLaughlin has about maybe 3 car lengths back to Ryan Truex. Then back to him, only about a car length to Justin Gann. A Turpek right there in 4th, and right now he is the highest of the cars with the fresh tires in that 4th position. Caution out again, 9th time today.
And just as it was about to get real crazy up there in the top 3, I think, and they're still looking like they're maybe wrecking back there a little bit.
Brett Moffitt, I believe, in the 23 that was involved.
Yeah, he's slow right now off turn 4, so I had to find out what happened there. And Seth, we had saw him lose some spots due to just some unfortunate contact after that restart, and maybe was just trying to dig too hard, trying to make his way back up.
Back and see what happened to the number 23 Plan B Sales Chevrolet Camaro, and actually I don't think there was any contact. He may have looped it around himself out of turn 4. You can see how he was right there. You see the rear end damage, and yeah, that car just stepped out on him by the time he got right into the entry of the corner.
Well, and that's what we were talking about earlier with the rear end damage on the car like this. That's going to happen sometimes, where it just all of a sudden, acts up on you is what we'd call it. You're just not ready for it to do that. You're not used to that if you hadn't experienced it. It's a different point in the race, and I think that's just kind of what got him right there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe with that rear end damage, what it does is it makes the spoiler a little bit lower. It doesn't have it positioned where it needs to be, so that way it doesn't catch the air and allow you the downforce you need in the back to keep that car glued to the racetrack.
Oh, yeah. And on a different day, that might actually be a problem. Like, you might need less downforce, right? But on a track condition like this and a day like this where you've got the race, that's just going to worsen that condition early in the run, and that's not what you want. And even, as you get through the run, 5-10 laps, it won't tighten it up near as much as you would want it to, like the set is supposed to do.
Past 2 cautions have been a welcome sight for a couple of drivers. The last caution, Bridget Burgess back on the lead lap. She's currently in the 21st position. And Kevin Bellacourt, who's been quite a number of incidents here today, bouncing off quite a few cars. He's back on the lead lap now with this 9th caution of the day. Looks like we're going to have about 25 cars still on the lead lap when we go back green. Our 29 cars are still on the racetrack in this event.
Yeah, you talk about Bellacourt right there. Talk about a guy that's surviving right now. Been involved in quite a few incidents. Really not necessarily a lot of his own making. So if he's able to rebound and, find his way maybe in the top 15, top 10, that would, be a win, I'm sure, for him on the day with how this race has gone so far.
McLaughlin, each one of these laps he's able to lead under caution is one less lap he has to defend the race lead under green flag conditions. The ARCA Menards Series driver, I'll tell you what, I've actually been really impressed on that car with old tires, going all the way back to the beginning of this race, because he was running lap times very similar to Landon Castle. The 2 of them at the time were running down Brett Moffitt, and McLaughlin was on the same strategy as Moffitt, not as Castle. So even on old tires, he's proved he's got a lot of speed, and right now I kind of think old tires seem to be his best friend.
Yeah, and I think that comes to, when these drivers practice for this event, they see the conditions, they're able to kind of fill out some different things. I think for McLaughlin, he just feels more comfortable, to your point, on the old tires in terms of, knowing what he's able to do with the car and not do with the car, as opposed to the fresh tires. Sometimes the fresh tires can give you, what we call superhero syndrome, right? You think you've got some really good speed, you're able to make a move or two, and if you're not careful, all of a sudden the tires fall off quickly, and that can really get you. But for McLaughlin, didn't really buy into that. Just said, hey, I'm going to run my race, I'm going to do it in my own strategy, and with the tires especially, probably put in some good time and just made that decision that, hey, I'm going to commit to running the older tires, and that's where I'm going to be the best at.
At this point in time, it will be single file restarts until the end of this race, unless we're told otherwise. Max McLaughlin leads, Ryan Truex in second. Those 2 are the last guys out there. They're trying to make it on the old tires. Behind them, 15-lap newer tires is where you find Noah Turpak in third, Derek Kraus in fourth, Shane Terrian in fifth, Mark Newsom sixth, Josh Weinrich in seventh, Mark's right now in eighth, Ricky Hart Jr. now up in the top 10, ninth, Joey Coulter in 10th. But I want to give a little bit of a shout out too. He hasn't wrecked today, but he's nearly wrecked several times. Derek Kraus has had his hands full, but he's up there right now in the top 5.
He's always a fun one to watch. I mean, still learning, still improving. A good young talent. Like a lot of the drivers in the field, just really talented at the wheels. So he gets after it a little bit when he's out there. He's not afraid to hold back.
Well, other guys that have made some comeback runs here in just the last 25 laps. Paul Wilson, who was involved in a caution about maybe 35 laps ago, he's up in the 11th spot. Mark Ellis right now in 12th, and Stuart Friesen, after the penalty, after getting involved in a wreck, he's up there in the 13th position. I think we're going to see him try and crack the top 10 again here momentarily as McLaughlin gets us back under the green flag, and it looks like Ryan Truex may have timed it just a little bit better that time.
Yeah, didn't really lose too much of a gap, and the key thing is going to be able to stay right in that back draft of McLaughlin. You see him right here kind of pulling into him in the middle of the corner, but McLaughlin's going to get the better run off right there.
Right now, I think wants to get up there and pass McLaughlin as soon as possible because he knows those guys are on the same pit sequence. Everyone behind him, though, have fresher tires than they do. Not 100% fresh tires, but 15-lap better tires than the top 2 drivers.
Yeah, but for Truex, Seth, we saw him earlier in about the halfway point there when we got a few green flag laps in. He was strong on that early run, but started to fade a little bit as some of the guys on the fresher tires rised up. So maybe he's kind of adjusted, took some notes from that. We'll have to see how he does here if we go another 5-10 laps under green.
Battle for 4th. Shane Terrian trying to work his way up to the front, trying to pass Derek Kraus for 4th. Ooh, pushed up there in the center. Contact between the two as caution is out.
Surprised it wasn't them. That was some, door to door right there. Good job by both drivers. It looks like it may be the 92 again, Steph.
Taranto was one of the drivers. The other one was the 17 of Harley White, who has brought the car to a stop. Refires it here on the back straightaway.
Ooh, and this one was a bit of a tough wreck. Looks like they just got together off the corner of the 92 and 17 there. And it looks like there may have been an innocent bystander in the 4-car of Chris Quick. Just nowhere to go.
And it looks like Stuart Friesen, who had actually worked his way up 11th position there under that last run, looks like he has now connected. Brett Moffitt back there in turn 1 sent Harley White up the track. Here you see she crowds Taranto up into the wall. Taranto up into the air and over Harley White's machine.
Yeah, a bit of a rough lick right there, and you'll see Chris Quick on the back of that, just nowhere to go. And took some heavy damage in that 4-car.
Looks like that has ended the day for Quick in that number 4 Mustang. See him here as he's coming down the back straightaway, trying to figure out which way the car is going to go. And he chose wrong. It's directly into the 92 of Taranto. Thus, his day is over. Mentioned Stuart Friesen on behind the wall. Taranto, a lot of damage on that car, so I don't know if he's got a fast repair still. Didn't look like a whole lot of damage, 17, but I don't know. Harley White's car kind of went up in the air there as she and the 92 kind of rode the back straightaway wall.
Yeah, and anytime you get some air like that, even if the hit doesn't look too bad or the damage doesn't look too bad, most of the time, that's real rough on the car here in the sim. So might be a little bit more damage than you would think coming out of something like that.
Sets us up for what's going to be less than 20 laps to go when we eventually go back green. I believe the free pass car after that one is going to be Trevor Vogel in the 18. So that is currently going to have 24 cars on the lead lap. I believe that when everything cycles around, 27 cars will still be continuing in this event.
Yeah, it looked like Seth Friesen was right in the middle of a four-tire stop. So not sure if maybe there was an issue, you know, internet-wise or something of that nature. It did not look intentional in terms of just leaving the race, if you will. So
Possible connection issues there for Stuart Friesen, who was on the comeback trail after pit road penalty and getting involved in a wreck, was just about to crack the top 10. These cautions continue to be Max McLaughlin's best friend. Going to get us back underway yet again. Ryan Truex has done a good job, though, as well, holding on in second place, especially with the fact that he doesn't have the luxury of knowing when McLaughlin's going to accelerate. So he could very easily mess up the restart and have your tires of Noah Turpak right behind him. But so far, he's been able to keep the 8 car at bay.
oh, no doubt. And as a guy who's notoriously terrible at restarting in second place, like myself, that's always impressive to see somebody else be able to, time up those restarts well and, hold on to the spot. Because, like you said, it's so tough to judge, when the leader's going to punch it. You got to figure out tendencies and, really when they favorite, their spots, if you will.
I want to point out, too, that battle we saw just before that caution came out, the contact between Derek Kraus and Shane Terrian. And we mentioned the fact that those guys behind the top 2 have fresher tires than McLaughlin and Truex. However, they've been out there now for 21 laps on their tires, so they're not experiencing fresh rubber grip when they go into the corners. And I think that's why we saw that Terrian pushed up into Kraus when they were side by side going into 3.
Oh yeah, I would describe the tire wear is kind of like a cliff, right? You're good for 5-10 laps, and all of a sudden that next lap hits, and it's completely different feeling. So I think, like you're saying, it's just what we saw right there. Them two sliding up, getting tight like that is probably a case of just not being used to that condition going off into a corner like that.
Remind everybody, tonight the FeedNC 150, of course, is brought to you by FeedNC.org. That is a food pantry located in Mooresville, North Carolina, the same area where Hattori Racing Enterprises has their race workshop. Of course, they're supporting a local charity here, and you can get in on the action as well if you would like to donate. Who's watching on YouTube? Down in the stream video description, and for those watching on Facebook Live, it is in the comments. Head on over and support a great cause. Green flag back in the air, 18 laps to go at Kentucky.
And a great restart there by McLaughlin that time. That one caught Truex, I think, a bit more off guard. It looked like McLaughlin changed up the timing a bit, and it worked to perfection.
The driver that did not really get a good start there was 5th place Shane Terrian. He's about 2 car lengths back behind Derek Kraus, who did get a good jump. He's about to close in on 3rd place Noah Turpak.
Yeah, Turpak's in between a rock and a hard place right here. He's got Ryan Truex in front of him, a hungry Derek Kraus behind him, and I think Turpak's got a little bit of rear damage on that car. So it can feel really weird here as they start to battle it out.
He's got turn 4 that's been out to get him all day long.
Ooh, going off into the corner there, Seth. Look, he had to check up just a bit, had a good run in, but you can't push right there, or else he's going to push Truex up out of the way and probably make some contact. And because of that, Kraus just pounces in the moment.
Saw earlier on in the race before he disconnected, Landon Castle was actually taking a higher entry into turn 1 and really making it work with good corner exit. We saw there Truex on the outside line was able to hold on for 2nd. Kraus on the outside line went around Turpak the 3rd spot. So it looks like that second groove has definitely come in here in the latter stages.
Right, and with the track conditions, how hot the track is, the bottom actually sometimes gets, almost more treacherous, especially on the older tires. And you see Turpak right there in the 8 slide a little bit off the corner out of 2, and it's not the preferred line sometimes. You can really get some better runs on that high side.
Now into the top 5, Shane Terrian up to the 4th spot, Josh Weinrich right there in 5th. The guys that finished 1st and 2nd back at Darlington, they're nose to tail inside of the top 5, but right now they're all chasing Max McLaughlin. It's the battle for 2nd. Ooh, maybe a little contact there between Kraus and Truex. Just trying to move Truex up the track. They're still side by side down the back straightaway, and Shane Terrian saying, "Where can I go?"
Yeah, Terrian's trying to pick the right line here, right? This is the tough part if you're a car behind a battle of 2 like this. You got to figure out who's going to have the better momentum, and can you follow them through that other car?
Remain side by side off of turn 4, Kraus and Truex. Terrian looking to the bottom of the racetrack, now moves back up to the higher side. trying to see which lane's going to move, and Josh Weinrich's kind of boxed in back there as well.
And Max McLaughlin is loving this right now. Look at him really start to extend out that lead. This is exactly what he wants to see. And if he gets this for 5 more laps, he may put out, enough of a lead where it's going to be hard for somebody to reel him in.
Derek Kraus has now cleared Ryan Truex into second. Terrian's going to clear for third. Weinrich trying to do the same and move into fourth. So now Max McLaughlin looks in his rearview mirror and he says, uh-oh, guys behind me with 17-lap fresher tires says, whoa, we nearly had a wreck there into turn 1. A little door bang from Turpak into Truex.
Yeah, Truex looks like he wasn't really settled going into 1 because that Turpak got a huge run and it was just about disaster, but they kept it straight. Impressive stuff right there.
Up now about maybe 4 car lengths from McLaughlin back to Derek Kraus. Starting to chip even closer there. It's going to be up a little less than 4/10 hitting the start-finish line this time, nearing 10 laps to go. Can McLaughlin hang on, or will the fresher tires prevail of Derek Kraus? I would not count out Shane Terrian or Josh Weinrich back there in 3rd or 4th place either, because they've got some fast Supras.
Oh, no doubt about it. Probably those two, at least in the early stages of this race, we thought were maybe be the class of the field, and they've really had to battle and scratch and claw their way back up into this. So that this could be the top 4, and then maybe Turpak as well in 5th. That could be your battle for the win right here.
Fitting that in a race and an event that's sponsored by Toyota Shoe Show, you got 4 Supras up there inside of the top 5. First back through 4th, McLaughlin, Kraus, Arian, and Weinrich. And right now, all of them are separated by less than 0.8 of a second.
This is just, this is what you hope for right here when we start this race. These top 5 are very talented, and I think we're about to see some fireworks here, especially if Kraus could get right up to the back of McLaughlin. That's going to allow Terrian probably, I'd imagine, to get right into the mix as well, Seth.
And laps to go, and you got to wonder if Kraus gets to him. We've seen that second groove kind of be the way to go to get that momentum off the corner. If he gets to him, does Kraus jump to the outside, or does he try and make the inside line work, force the older tires to the outside line?
I think for Kraus, he's not going to have much of a choice. If I'm Max McLaughlin, I am defending that outside, to your point, because especially on the older tires, for McLaughlin, it's not going to do him any good to run the bottom. It's just not. He's not going to be able to get the same momentum. So for Kraus, he's really going to have to set up McLaughlin and maybe try to kind of juke him out a little bit and, find the right way to carry the momentum. I think that's what you're seeing here from Kraus. You notice he's kind of been a little bit more patient here in the last couple laps after everything's sorted out for him to get to second, Seth. He's kind of measuring McLaughlin right here, I think.
This is absolutely incredible. 48 laps McLaughlin has been out there on those tires. That's the longest anybody has been out there on a set of tires all day long. That last time by, he only ran about maybe 0.3 slower than his fastest lap of the race. That old of tires, that is amazing that it's not that much fall off.
Oh, yeah, it just speaks to, how good of a job that he's done of saving those tires and making sure that, not using them up at the wrong times and just kind of preparing for a situation like this. Of course, the cautions help, but, that's just part of the strategy.
The 92 of Taranto going to move out of the way. Not to be a factor here in this brewing battle for the win. Right now, looks like it's going to come down to 4 race cars, maybe 5. Noah Turpak is still there, about maybe 2 car lengths behind Josh Weinrich, so it may be 5 drivers to settle this thing out. But right now, you have to think the advantage is for McLaughlin, because he gets to choose the line he wants to take into the corner. Everybody else has to change up their strategy and which line they're going to run.
Yeah, and the caution is out.
There was a car down there on the inside of turn 2. It was hard to see who it was.
Trying to find here.
The 85 of Stuart Ovens.
Stuart's had kind of an up and down race. Been a few laps down and still is here, but boy, this Kentucky track is eating up and spit out a few drivers here today.
Make that joke because he's sponsored by Grubhub, because if you did, I give you a round of applause. But see what happened here to Ovens Chevrolet off of turn 2. Nobody around him, and oh my, that looks like a tire. That car just went straight up into the wall, never even turned off the corner.
It was either the tire blew or, and this is why I'm watching this a couple times, the one indication, at least, from the early installation of this newer tire model that we keep talking about, is that you'll see a little bit of a bobble from whichever side the tire blew on. I'm trying to see if there was really that bobble on that right front. Even if there wasn't, I think that tire was definitely at a very worn position. So it either went out or it just got to the point where it was right about to be blowing on him. So tough break there for Stewart.
Sets us up for what's going to be a restart with less than 5 laps to go. Now the question is, are they going to get these pace laps out of the way to be able to finish this in regulation, or will we be going into the only green-white checkered overtime that these drivers have at their disposal?
If you're Max McLaughlin, you're hoping this, the one green-white checkered is used here, because then he's just got to kind of, be on top of it for one good restart. Boy, this is going to be close, Seth. I'm trying to judge here. We're either going to just barely enter into the green-white checkered, or we are going to get a natural green-white checkered.
Of course, in both situations, the goal for Max McLaughlin is just to get back to the white flag. Race is going to end at that point. Been good, very good on the last couple of restarts, but that time, those restarts, he had Ryan Truex on the same strategy behind him. Now he's got Derek Kraus, Tarian, Josh Weinrich, Noah Turpak, who right now are about 17 lap fresher tires. Now, they've been out there for 35 laps on their sets, so they're going to be fighting the conditions as well of not a whole lot of grip going into the corners, but going to have more grip going into the corners than McLaughlin is.
Yeah, and for McLaughlin, at that point, he's just got to know, the limits of his car. So when you're on such a difference of tires like that, and you're coming down to these crucial restarts, like we talked about, he's got kind of the power of the situation of controlling, okay, this is a line I'm going to declare going into a corner. This is the speed I'm going to take it out. Others have to adjust to that. So as long as he's aware, and it seems like he has been, Seth, of knowing the limits of his car on these older tires, then I think really he could set himself up to at least maybe get a good clean lap in before he faces a true challenge from Kraus or Tarian.
A slippin', sliding, crazy race it's been here at Kentucky, and it looks like it's going to come down the final 2 laps of this race. I believe the lights are going to go out atop the pace car this next time around, so to your point, we will be having a green-white checkered in regulation, a 2-lap shootout here. If they do not make it back to the white flag, we do have the overtime green-white checkered at our disposal. You're McLaughlin. Do you want to finish this out in regulation? Do you want to see that caution, knowing that when we go to green-white checkered conditions, the next flag ends the race?
I mean, at this point, you want to take whatever is the shortest way possible, right? So, I mean, yeah, he probably wants to be able to see it play out here without the green-white checker, know the situation now. And if not, though, it could get real dicey if we do get to that green-white checker and have to use it.
I know you were looking back at the car going up into the wall with Stuart Ovens, and I was kind of thinking to myself, if it was a tire, you gotta wonder if that's in the back of Max McLaughlin's mind. Has he been able to keep that right front to have enough on it to make it to the end of this race? Lights are out indeed atop the pace car. We're going to have a green-white checkered here in regulation. McLaughlin the leader, Derek Kraus second. Timeouts winner at Darlington. Shane Tarian trying to go 2 in a row. Lines up third. Josh Weinrich in fourth. Noah Turpak in fifth. Paul Wilson's had an up-and-down day, but he's in 6th. Ricky Hart Jr. in 7th. Brent Marks in 8th. Justin Gann 9th. Joey Coulter completes the top 10. Quick's going to line up 11th. Mark Ellis in 12th. David Grossclose in 13th. Rest of the top 10 is going to be completed by Jake Crabbill and Derek Newsom. 20 is Byron McDonald, Brett Moffitt, Tom Bourne, Trevor Vogel, and Ryan Truex. Looks like we're going to have 21 cars on the lead lap when we go back green. Bridget Burgess, the last of those. Those are the drivers that basically are in the hunt, being on the same lap as the leader for this victory if a chaotic green-white checker takes place here.
Let's see how McLaughlin handles this restart right here. Look at him kind of, playing some mind games, it looks like, is a little bit of a stack up behind him already.
But he's trying to time it there. You have Weinrich up there on the top side in case they don't get going. And there goes McLaughlin into the throttle. Little contact back there, as I don't think Kraus got going, and Tirian was into his rear deck lid.
Yeah, Kraus just was not ready for that one, and that's exactly what Max McLaughlin wanted, Seth. This will buy him that lap of space if it stays green like here, like I was talking about. I mean, and he may even be able to run this out with not much challenge.
Terrian trying to look at the inside of Kraus for second. Weinrich's going to get around Turpak, move into the fourth spot. Now about maybe 4/10 of a second separation from first. Back to this battle for second. The white flag is going to fly. We will race to the checkered flag.
Yeah, I think McLaughlin may have just won this race off that restart, Seth. I mean, look at this. Kraus is facing a hungry 38 car. I don't know if he's going to have time to close in right here.
He's got to hit his marks. Ran a little wide there through 1 and 2, did McLaughlin. Kraus closed up a little bit, but not close enough to strike in 3 and 4. Still about 3 car lengths, 3.5 going into turn 3. McLaughlin on 57 lap old tires. He's headed for home.
Just got to keep it clean right here off 4. He does, and there it is. Congratulations to Max McLaughlin.
Wow. Cannot believe that he was able to make it that far on that many laps on his tires, still be able to stay up there in the race lead.
It's just a real testament to, the attention to detail, to be able to save those tires, to make sure, he's got enough to stay speedy and competitive. And you got to give Derek Kraus, Shane Terrian, and Josh Weinrich, some real credit right there. They battled hard, Seth, in the closing laps. They just could not muster enough to get Max McLaughlin.
Absolutely. The drivers that finished in the top 3 back at Darlington, all 3 of them finished up in the top 4 here today, around the 19 of Derek Kraus. Max McLaughlin, the ARCA Menard Series driver, is going to come down here to the start-finish line at Kentucky Speedway, and he's going to get to burn it down with whatever tire rubber is left.
This is where you may, pop a couple of them, right? I mean, maybe that's why he's saving it for you.
McLaughlin, what a great drive here today. At number 1 machine, putting it P1. And let's not forget, I want to stress this, he started the race dead last.
Measured approach by it. We talked about how his qualifying time was notably slower than everybody else. It was an absolute strategy call by him to say, hey, not even going to risk it early going. And, I mean, what a job. What a job by him.
On the halfway point of this race, he was committed, gained a lot of track position with staying out, eventually got the race lead, and never looked back. And let's be honest, too, amazingly enough, never really had that much of a challenge. He had a couple of charges from Derek Kraus, but I don't think he really had anything less than 2 car lengths.
Yeah, and the big reason of that, and we highlight, is because that battle was just raging behind him. I mean, those guys all were trying to have the shot at him, but because of that, really kind of hurt each other's chances at challenging them. And when you're the leader like that and you make that strategy call, I mean, that's the perfect storm, Seth, and he got it and took advantage of it.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to see if we can get interviews here with our top 3 finishers as we look here at the full finisher results from this race. Max McLaughlin brings it home with the win. Derek Kraus in second. Shane Terrian in third. Josh Weinrich there in fourth. Good run for the couple of drivers that ran the same liveries here today. But Turpak finishes out the 5th position. Paul Wilson, we saw him involved in, I think it was 2 cautions. He battled back for 6th. Hart Jr., we're going to call him the quiet man today because we really didn't talk a whole lot about him. He finishes top 10 and 7th. Justin Gann finished 8th, Joey Coulter in 9th. Brent Marks completes the top 10. Look a little bit further down here in the finishing results, and a couple of guys that were up there towards the top of the leaderboard at certain points of this race. Been some difficulties here late. Brett Moffitt was up there leading quite a bit of this race. He finishes back in 16th. Ryan Truex on those old tires, he faded back to 18th position. And then, of course, some other drivers that finished out of the race early, including Stuart Friesen there in 28th, Landon Castle in 30th. Those were guys that were up in the top 5 at certain points of this race as well. Look here at the rest of the drivers in the finishing results. Logan Schuchart, McDaniel, and Grayson Pope completed out the field here today at Kentucky.
Just what a race, Seth, and what a show that Kentucky put on here. This is one of the more fun tracks, I think. A lot of great, reasons why this puts on a good show. It's just a nice wide track, and as we saw, I mean, multiple lines came into play, whether it's the low, middle, or high. So that's always fun and kind of adds to the drama.
was certainly fun for us to watch. Let's find out if it was fun for the drivers out there on the track. Let's get an interview here with third place finisher Shane Terrian. Shane, it's Tyler and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I got you. You got me?
Yeah, we got you, Shane.
All right.
But man, I mean, talk about you kind of had an up and down day, man. I mean, you started up there with a blazing pole time in the open qualifying, and then from there, really, I think the story of the race for a lot of you guys was figuring out the strategy with these tires and the conditions. What was going through your mind? How'd you try to play that out throughout the race?
I don't know, man. I wish we got more racing because I was fast. I was probably the fastest car on there, but I just couldn't get enough laps in to do anything. And I pitted earlier because I hit the 8 because he cut down in front of me and I got some damage, so I didn't know how bad it was. And I got stuck in traffic, and then all the tire strategies, and then the 4 laps of green flag hurt. But I mean, it was fun. It was cool racing with these guys. I enjoy it. Especially thank you to Josh for putting this on again and then inviting me back.
Right, Shane, you're one of the resident iRacers, if you will. We've seen you have personally, I've known you a little bit. Of course, Seth and the rest of the Flat Out guys have. You've had a lot of success on the sim. How cool is it to be able to get on here on a day like this and really go, toe to toe with some of the big names we saw in the field: Kraus, McLaughlin, Castle, Moffitt, Friesen, all those guys in there. Just, what does that do? What's the mindset when you have to go into an environment like that?
The first race, it was nerve-wracking. This one, I was a little bit more comfortable, but I did make a comment when I started on the pole. I was like, man, never would I ever say that I'd be starting first right next to Landon Castle. So, I mean, that was pretty interesting. It was cool. I was racing with all those guys a lot. I wish I would have been able to race Brett a little bit more. I caught him from like I went from 8th to 2nd before the yellow, and I was catching him, but then all the pit strategies, I never got a chance to race with Brett. But I raced with everyone else, and it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed the racing that we got, but it's just too many yellows, man.
Seth, if you got any questions.
Shane, we ended up seeing that, obviously early on the fresh tires, drivers slipping and sliding around, especially off of 2 and off of 4. A lot of drivers then on those late restarts were out there on 21, 22 lap old tires. Did you still have that same sensation with the tires cooling down under pacing, or did you have a little bit more grip with the older tires? And that's why we saw a lot of drivers pull the strategy of staying out and not coming to pit road.
So I think when the tires cooled down, you had grip for about 10 laps. But I mean, I think that one run we ran like 15 laps, you could see the difference when I was flying through the field and I had, I think, like 15, 20 lap pressure tires. That was the difference. But yeah, when you can cool them down on pit road, if you have 10 lap shootout, those old tires work. And you saw that with Max there at the last like 20 laps there.
Obviously, coming off that win at Darlington and following up with a great run here tonight in third position. I mean, you've been obviously doing very well here in these special events, and we're going to let's do some shout outs now.
Yeah, I'm gonna shout out Evil Controllers. I had them on the car this week. They've been an affiliate with them for 7 years. You guys for broadcasting. I hope you guys had fun. Then obviously Josh and Hattori Racing for putting this on and letting me come back. It was great. I hope I can come back to the next one.
Absolutely. I mean, we had a blast up here calling the action, and finished here tonight at the Kentucky Speedway. It's been so interesting to see the differences between the Darlington race and here the Kentucky race. Two tracks, same distance, completely different configuration. But congrats on a third place run, and like you said, looking forward to seeing you in future events.
Thank you, guys.
And we've got second place finisher Derek Kraus. Let's get him in here. Derek, it's Tyler and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, you had a fast car there at the end, but it kind of seemed like on that last restart, you just quite didn't get the restart you were looking for. If you had gotten the restart and been able to be maybe within a car length of him going into turn 1, do you think you would have had anything for McLaughlin?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to start single file like that just because it's really hard to tell when Max was going to go. So I kind of had to time it a little bit, and I mistimed it a little bit. And if I was there, I felt like I could have maybe got some, but I felt like our tires evened out. He was out there for a while on his set of tires, and I got tires a little bit later than he did. But I felt like towards the end of the race there, the tires evened out, and it was just tough to get by him.
Saw a lot of drivers, especially late in the race, migrate up to that second groove, especially going through 1 and 2. We know that pretty much McLaughlin was going to choose the line he was going to take going into the corner, no matter who was behind him. So, did you have a strategy of where you were going to make your move and which lane you were going to choose?
Yeah, I had a little bit of strategy. He was gonna go high if he was low, and just when you're higher up in turn 1 and 2, you could get such a better run off of turn 2, and that would help a lot going down into 3 and 4. So I definitely had a little bit of strategy if I could get there, but unfortunately, I didn't get there.
And Derek, I've raced against you a few times here and there. You're always kind of a candid guy, but I mean, obviously, all these special events have been wonderful. Great things going on here with the FeedNC thing. But how excited are you with the announcements going on to kind of put an eye towards getting back going here on the real thing soon?
Yeah, it's really exciting to get back going racing here in the next month or so. So really looking forward to that. But all this iRacing stuff that Josh has been putting on, and everyone from NASCAR and all the hosted stuff has been really fun lately, and I really enjoy doing it, and it's a really fun time.
A great run for you here tonight, Derek. You had to kind of fight your way up there too, because I think it was around the midway point you started getting shuffled back. So a great job of charging back up through the field. Almost were able to pull off the victory, but a great second place run for you. And we're gonna let you do some shout outs.
Yeah, for sure. I got a new sim, Shockwave seat, sent over a VRX sim, which is helping me a lot with this iRacing. And then also, just like I said, Shockwave was on the race car as well, and it's been really fun racing against these guys, and can't thank Josh enough for putting these kind of events on. It helps the community in North Carolina a lot.
That's Derek Kraus. He brings it home second place here tonight at Kentucky. And just to echo what Tyler said, can't wait to see you back in the driver's seat of your truck here, as we're going to be getting the NASCAR season started pretty soon, it sounds like.
Yeah, can't wait to go back racing. Thank you guys for having us.
And let's get in Max McLaughlin, our race winner here tonight at the Kentucky Speedway. Max, it's Tyler and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Well, I know that they call you Mad Max for another reason, but I thought it was crazy that you were able to make it 56 laps on those old tires. I mean, was there any point that you thought with those guys behind you that you were going to be a sitting duck, or did you know what you had underneath you?
Well, we did a lot of testing this week, and kind of knew what we had to do on long runs there. And I definitely got a little nervous on the long runs there when I saw the Turpac coming. He was charging hard, and Derek was really good once he got to second. So yeah, and I spun the tires really bad on that last restart. So if we had another one, I was kind of screwed. But yeah, no, it was good. And I kind of just held a pretty wheel, and had to save the tires the best I could, and finally came home with it. If it wasn't for the cautions, it might have not turned out this way, but that's racing.
You just mentioned we had a lot of cautions, but you had to win this race from dead last, 33rd of the 33 car field. I mean, talk about the adventure of working your way up through all the traffic to get to the front.
Yeah, no, that was not on purpose. So literally, we're getting ready to qualify, and the button would not turn green, like the qualify button. It was just
Oh, no.
silver. Yeah, so it like lagged out. So suddenly, I feel like we have a top 3 qualifying effort in the books, and we're starting 33rd. So that's not ideal. But even when driving through traffic and everything, you still had to save your tires. And I think we were 23rd on that one caution, and stayed out. And I think Moffitt and Truex and a couple others, they stayed out with us, and we ran hard there for the lead late. And, if it wasn't for that, if we didn't stay out there, it would have been a lot tougher because we got a ton of track position on that stop. So that was kind of the determining factor early in the race.
Well, boys, Seth, we were wrong up here because we thought with your qualifying time that you were kind of, gaming the field a little bit and deciding to elect to start back there. But no, Kentucky, we talked about it a bit through the broadcast. It is such a unique track, although it's, that mile and a half, it's not really your cookie cutter type. You mentioned you did a lot of testing coming into the race. What did you find there that kind of really helped you, profile today's race and be able to do what you did on those long runs?
Yeah, well, everybody knows I'm a dirt guy. I have a dirt background. I'm a dirt racer. the loose setup really complemented my driving style, and just being able to not hug the bottom and being able to let the car float off the corner. That's kind of what you got to do. So I had a lot of fun with the loose setup. It was pretty cool to finally get Josh to dedicate a loose setup to us and not be pushing for 100 laps. But that was definitely the determinant factor for us, is being able to have a loose setup. That's kind of how I like my cars to drive. And even in real life, if I have a tight car, I am complaining on the radio a little bit. So that's kind of how it goes. But I had a lot of fun doing it.
Man, you had a great run back at the Darlington race back in April, finishing third in that one. You're bringing home P1 here tonight, and an unbelievable drive, being able to stretch those tires as far as you did. And we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Yeah, it's cool. Toyota Sioux Show, I know they were tuning in. Shiki Hattori has done a lot for my racing career. We had an awesome energy drink on board on the quarter panel of our car tonight. So great to have them on the asphalt. They've been helping a lot on the dirt. We've been running the Stenhouse Junior Marshall Racing car on the World of Outlaw Tour on the iRacing circuit. So it's cool to have them on the asphalt with bringing them on board. It's just cool to have everybody involved. But Toyota Sioux Show is tuning in, so it's cool to get a win for them. And Shiki Hattori and number one Toyota Supra. Toyota's had a huge involvement with my racing career, and I definitely wouldn't be here without them.
From last to first, Max McLaughlin is your winner here tonight in the FeedNC 150 at Kentucky Speedway. Congratulations. Go enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you.
That is going to conclude our coverage here this evening from the Kentucky Speedway. And boy, I mean, typical Kentucky. We know you mentioned the fact of the configuration of this track, how the two corners are completely dissimilar to each other. Drivers have to always be on their toes. Loose setup here tonight, which obviously McLaughlin really loved the fact that it was a loose setup. A lot of other guys, maybe not so much.
Well, we talked about this, the dirt guys, right? I mean, we talked about how they prefer. You're McLaughlin, say it right there. I mean, they don't like tight sets. So anytime you give them a little bit of that loose set, they're, licking their chops, ready to go at it. So I think that, like you said, played a big factor. So, but what a race. I mean, what a race. All pretty much everything, drama, some crazy side-by-side, door-to-door action, and just, always it's been a great series of events here that has been put on.
Definitely has been, and it's all been for a great cause. Just want to plug it one more time here before we go off air. The namesake of this race, the FeedNC 150. FeedNC, a local bank, a local food pantry there in Mooresville, North Carolina, the same area that Hattori Racing Enterprises has their racing workshop. They're supporting a local charity there. And if you want to help out as well and submit a donation of any price, you can head on over to the link provided in the YouTube video description, as well as the link provided in the Facebook Live comments. But a wild night here. Round 3 is in the books. It was Texas, it was Darlington, and tonight it was Kentucky. Max McLaughlin, amazing pit strategy, takes the checkered flag. And Tyler, appreciate you being here for this 100 lapper with me.
As I always say, folks, Seth makes me look a lot better than I am. I mean, true pros pro over here. So I appreciate you, Seth, just as much, I promise.
Glad to be a part of it. So thanks everybody for tuning in here this evening. Hope you enjoyed the race, and thanks for being a part of it. Want to thank a whole bunch of the other sponsors that were here for this as well. Of course, FeedNC, Hattori Racing Enterprises, Toyota Shoe Show, also Ison for being on board with all of this as well. All those sponsors make this happen. And of course, big shout out to Josh Weinrich as well. He's the main guy that gets this whole thing put together and has put on some unbelievable events here for a great cause. But thanks everyone for tuning in to tonight's race. Max McLaughlin is your winner here in the FeedNC 150 at Kentucky Speedway. You've been watching another broadcast brought to you courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network. Have a great night.